We did get some news that I want to cover very briefly here today, and it's fitting. We're talking about AJ Allmendinger having won the Xfinity race. There are reports from The Athletic today that Allmendinger is returning to the Cup Series full-time in 2023, and I just real quick want to play a flashback to our show a couple of weeks ago and one of the predictions that Casey made.
And by the way, who said AJ Allmendinger was going back to Xfinity? That hasn't been confirmed yet.
Well, I don't know. I don't see him getting back to the grind of 36 Cup races. We'll see. I'm sure Kaulig would love to have him. He had another great run at Bristol last night in the Cup race as well. So I'm sure if he's up for it, they'd love to put him in that 16 car, but who knows what's going to happen. Well, there you have it. I was wrong. Casey, you were obviously correct with that prediction. So I'll go to you first here. What's your reaction to the news that AJ Allmendinger is going to be back in the Cup Series full-time next season?
This has kind of been floated around the industry a little bit, so that to have AJ back in the Cup Series. Obviously, he'd obviously had to be okay with it and all that stuff because he said, I don't want to go Cup racing. But it looks like, Matt Kaulig and Chris Rice probably treat him to like 10 more rounds of golf or something like that. It's going to be exciting to have somebody like that back. It's kind of like he's kind of taken the full circle. He's out. And after, everything that happened in 2018 with JTG and then, him doing TV part-time and Kaulig, more part-time Kaulig, and then he's running full-time Xfinity again, and then he's running full-time Xfinity again, and now he's going back Cup racing after all these years. It's kind of the full circle. But yeah, it'll be fun to see AJ back. I think he's definitely going to be contending for some wins, and I think he's going to contend for championship as well. Definitely going to make Kaulig a lot better.
My opinion on this, I kind of drink all the Kool-Aid here from Ben's tweet about this earlier today, to be honest with you. Yeah, it's great that AJ is making this full circle ride back with a team that really needs him and has really treated him well, Chris Rice and everyone there at Kaulig Racing. And it just seems to be a really great fit for AJ Allmendinger after JT Daugherty. Coming back to Kaulig, but at the same time, he's just on the cusp of greatness in the Xfinity Series. He's vying for a championship this year. He very well could have next year. And now, unfortunately, I'm right there with you, Ben. Instead of him going for a championship in 2023 in the Xfinity Series, he's just going to be another Cup leech. Unfortunately.
Well, that's assuming that he does run some Xfinity races, and
he will.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what the plans are. I know
road courses on the schedule. Do you think he'll be in one of them?
I don't think he's doing it. No.
Kaulig brought that 14 car out for Justin Haley to make his grand return to the Xfinity Series at Daytona. So I've got a feeling you'll probably see AJ on a couple of the road courses next year. But Brandon, I'm glad you brought up my tweet because the way I see it, the schedule next season with 8 road courses was kind of tailor made for AJ to have that large of a percentage. And, I'm happy for him. I think he totally deserves the opportunity. And, it's great to see that Kaulig have put their trust in him. He's really helped them build that Xfinity program. We'll see if he can do the same on the Cup side, but I think it's going to take some time. And I feel like, he could win a championship this year. And then, if you look at it one way, I guess, what more does he have left to prove? But, I just feel like if he could continue to rack up, like if he stayed in the Xfinity Series for 3 to 5 more years, at the rate he's winning these road course races, at the rate, he just won a super speedway. He's now won at every kind of track for Kaulig Racing here. So I just feel like, he was, on the cusp, like you said, Brandon, of doing something, legendary and maybe ending his career with, who knows, a win total in the 30s or maybe even higher than that if he stayed long enough. But at the same time, I understand that he's, obviously got a great thing going for him at Kaulig, and my biggest concern is just that he would get burnt out again from the grind of the full 36-week Cup schedule. But that being said, the culture at Kaulig Racing that he's enjoying, I'm sure, is very different than the grind that he was on at JTG Daugherty. And dare I say it, I think if Kaulig continue to improve at the rate that they have, those cars might even be a little bit better than what we've seen from JTG Daugherty in recent years. So, AJ, I think I mentioned in that clip that we just played back, I think he had a top 10 at Bristol. He's had a couple of top 10s. Like, he won the race at Portland. Joe and I were out there to see that. And then he hops on a plane and got a top 10 the next weekend at Gateway in the Cup Series. So, he has done some great things with Kaulig, not just in Xfinity, but also in Cup. He was a couple of corners away from winning the race at COTA, and then he and Ross Chastain got into it, but he had a great run there. He obviously won last year at the IMS road course in a car that was still an open car at the time. So, I honestly think, and, Casey talked about, contending for a championship as well. If you look at where the Roval is slated in the playoffs next year, he's won 3 Roval Xfinity races in a row. I don't think it's a stretch to say that he could make the round of 8 next year.
I believe that.
The number of road courses on the schedule, you've got to think he might get a win there. That would get him into the playoffs if he can have a solid first round. And then if he wins the Roval, he's in the round of 8. I don't think that's any stretch beyond what might be capable, what that Kaulig team might be capable of in 2023. A stretch to maybe call him a championship contender all the way, but I think he could surprise a lot of people next year. But at the same time, you look at how he's running. I mean, if this were a straight up points battle, if there were no playoffs, he would easily be the championship favorite. I think he's only had 3 races outside the top 10 this year. He has run so well, been so consistent. Of course, the playoff system is going to throw a wild card into everything when we get to Phoenix, but he could win a championship. He could come back, obviously contend for a championship next year. I just don't know that he's going to enjoy the same amount of success, or that it's going to be as fun as the amount of fun that he's having right now in the Xfinity Series. And that does worry me just a little bit. But at the same time, it's a tremendous opportunity. And I certainly hope that he makes the most of it, because he has enjoyed an amazing career revival here with Kaulig these last few years. And it's great to see. Hey everyone, I'm Ben Schneider. Thank you so much for watching. Before you go, make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel for more Grid Network highlights and analysis. And for full episodes of Grid Live Encore and other Grid programming, subscribe directly to Grid Network.